So we have some updates when it comes to the Detroit Red Wings. Earlier today, we had ourselves some press conferences. We had Stevie Y going out there and talking about the biggest signing from yesterday. Sidney Crosby, $8.7 million. Nope, just kidding. The other guy who had gotten signed to an $8 million deal. Lucas Raymond, baby, got signed to an 8-year extension, and we did make a video about that yesterday. It's up on the channel if you want to go out there and watch that yourself. But this morning we got the comments, and I wanted to go out there and talk about these in a specific video. So I'll leave a link in the description to 2 articles published on thehockeynews.com. The first one is from Connor Eargood, talking about 5 takeaways from Steve Yzerman's pre-training camp media availability. And the other is also by Connor Eargood. It was all new to me. Lucas Raymond discusses the contract negotiations after signing an 8-year deal. The Hockey News is pretty good for this because we can just go out there and screenshot the quotes from the interview because they're written out and put out into a text format. It's a lot easier for all of us to follow along, so the articles are going to be linked in the description. Without further ado, though, let's go out there and start out with what Steve Yzerman said about Lucas Raymond. The article by Connor Eargood opens up, though, by talking about how Raymond's 8-year extension is incredibly affordable compared to his peers, and if he continues to develop, it could be even more valuable. Stevie Y goes out there and says this: I think that Raymond is just entering the early stages of his prime. I fully expect him to become a better hockey player for a couple of reasons. I think he's extremely driven, an extremely bright player, and his motivation and whatnot. He'll just continue to get better over the next few years. And I did see some people in the comment section of the video yesterday kind of calling me out, saying, oh yeah, no, like, Raymond is better than you give him credit for, Lego. And I think a lot of that came from the Tim Stützle comparison that we had brought up. Because, you know, I did talk about how Tim Stützle has had a 90-point season before. Raymond has not attained that. Timmy Stu is probably going to get back to 90 if everything in Ottawa goes right. And if everything goes really, really right in Ottawa, Timmy Stu could be a 100-point player this upcoming year. Unfortunately, I don't see that out of Raymond just yet. It's totally possible for him to get a 90-point season like Jimmy Stu, but the point is he's not there yet. So at this moment, I'm saying that I think Tim Stützle is the more offensively dynamic player, and I do think that I'd take him over Raymond to get more points in a season in 2024-2025. Long term, though, hey, it's anybody's game. These guys are signed on till the 2030s. Give them time to really go out there and cook, and Stevie Y is pretty much saying that he agrees with that idea, that Raymond is going to get significantly better as he continues progressing. For a guy who was already at 70-plus points this previous year, leading the team with all the multi-point games and hat tricks to end out the 23-24 season, this is a guy who is really starting to come into his own, and we had seen at the end of the previous season that there still is another level that he can unlock, and that he hopefully will unlock as soon as this $8.075 million contract kicks in and he's playing games in 24-25. Yzerman then says this about Lucas Raymond: you can never guarantee how production goes, but I expect him to be one of our top players again. I expect his game to continue to grow this year, but yeah, last year, obviously, it helped this case a lot. When you're talking numbers, I think he had 13 goals in his last 20 games. He really helped his cause, and we were thrilled to see him play that well. This is the thing. If Raymond had signed his extension 1 year ago, because he was eligible to sign it a year ago, what's the dollar amount he's making if he gets 8 years? Firstly, he wouldn't have gotten 8 years. Steve Yzerman rarely gives out full-length contracts to guys coming off of their ELCs, and for Raymond, he didn't have that explosion of offensive productivity to give him significant leverage into getting that 8-year deal 1 year ago in September. So if he had signed an 8-year deal, which would not have happened, but if he had, the dollar amount might have been like, let's say, $7, $3 million a year, and that would have been seen as an absolute steal if he did have the season that he inevitably had in 23-24. He exploded with the amount of goals and points at the end of the season. Raymond's, let's say, last quarter of 23-24 really allowed him to make Stevie Y comfortable with that 8-year deal, I would say. If he doesn't have that crazy stint at the end, the Red Wings don't fully commit to Raymond over 8 years. They maybe go 5 years or 4 years or whatever. The Steve Yzerman special, like we had seen in Tampa Bay. Now, just to end off this segment in the article, Yzerman then also talks about how he doesn't think that him and Seider are terribly far apart in their negotiations. Of course, they're different negotiations, but they still are kind of viewed hand in hand. With that in mind, though, let's go out there and see the Raymond article. It was all new to me. Raymond discusses contract negotiations after signing his 8-year deal. Connor Eargood also published this piece because there are some comments from Razor in this one. I'm happy we got the contract done ahead of training camp, Raymond said Tuesday. I mean, of course, you always wanted to get it done as quick as possible, but it's the way it goes. It's the way of the business. And like I said, I'm just very happy we got it done. The article then says here that it was never really a question that Detroit would get Raymond signed, holding his RFA rights, and with neither side wanted to jeopardize his season, Detroit was always going to sign Raymond. It was just a matter of when. Raymond then talks about the summer that he had training, and this article says that Raymond was taking a little bit more of an optimistic approach to the extra negotiations and the time spent doing that. Part of that plan saw him train in Germany with Moritz Seider, his friend and Red Wings co-star, due for his own extension, and the coaches of Adler Mannheim in the DEL. That's interesting. I mean, European dudes, right? Of course, they're going to be kind of chilling if they have the accessibility to do that, but Raymond training with the Adler Mannheim folks, that is really interesting. There aren't too many Swedish dudes playing in the DEL, so having that kind of a connection is pretty peculiar. It was a little bit different for sure, Raymond explained, just the uncertainty of everything and when it would get done. Also, just planning the summer with my trainers and on ice and stuff like that, it feels like we came up with a good plan to treat it as a regular summer. Happy to see that these negotiations and the extended uncertainty period did not deter Raymond from having a good offseason and still progressing and working out. He then talks about the agency, how he had these two guys, JP Barry and Matt Williams, the CAA, doing the negotiations for him, and he says it was kind of new to me, right? Like, I've never been in those kinds of situations, so it was a lot of new stuff. And I think from the start, the big thing for me was that I wanted long-term. I think I've been pretty vocal about that, how much I like Detroit, how much I like the city, the team, and the direction we're heading. So that was, for sure, a big thing for me, and I'm very happy that we got it done. That also kind of plays into what I think maybe Steve Yzerman acquiesced to, because it's like, if Raymond has this crazy good explosion of points at the end of the year, he proves that he can be that dude. He's got that BDE. And then he says, hey, I only want to sign long-term. I want long-term. I want long-term. At some point, you know, Yzerman's got to look at the comparisons and be like, okay, well, if you can sign for $8 million, just a shade under Timmy Stu, and you could eventually compete with Timmy Stu in point production and overall value to the team, then okay, maybe we could get this 8-year thing done. And then he did, and that's exactly what we had seen. The article then talks about a Steve Yzerman comment where he pretty much talks about these kinds of contracts. I think on all of these long-term deals on younger players, there's a little bit of projection in it. He had said Tuesday, there's an expectation that the player will take his game to another level, and that's on both sides, and I'm very confident that Lucas will do that. The writer here then uses one more final Raymond quote to give us the conclusion here. It's a weird feeling for sure, but a very excited feeling, Raymond said about being signed for such a long term. I think I've been clear from the start when I think about Detroit. I'm extremely excited and obviously very honored as well to be able to be a Red Wing for at least 8 more years. I love the way he says that. At least 8 more years. He's gonna sign another extension by the time 2030 whatever comes and goes, and then he'll be a Red Wing until he's 35, and then he'll retire, and then he'll be, I don't know, maybe like top 5 in Red Wings points if he's able to have a really long and healthy career, if he's consistently getting like 70, 80, 90 point seasons, maybe reaches 100 at one point in his career, and then he drops back down to 90, maybe 80, and then he'll be one of the best Red Wings of all time. Lots of opportunity for growth here, right? Steve Yzerman, look out, man, because this guy might be coming for your title. Okay, maybe not that high. Yeah, no, Stevie Y had way too many points, so I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about both of these articles. Lucas Raymond speaking out about his contract extension. Steve Yzerman speaking out about Raymond too. Seider's next, baby. We gotta wait and see as to how far Seider is gonna go and how far Yzerman's gonna commit to Seider. I honestly don't know if they'd be willing to go 8 years for Mo. Not necessarily because he's not worth it, but because he didn't have that awakening period in the same way that Lucas Raymond had. I do strongly believe that if Raymond doesn't have that absolutely crazy end of the season, he doesn't pop off like that, he doesn't get the 8-year contract extension yesterday. I do think that was a lot more likely for him to get a bridge deal if he did not have that huge explosion and have that confidence instilled within him. Seider, I don't know if he had a similar moment, but we'll see either way if he's able to get some sort of a longer-term deal done too. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Lucas Raymond and Steve Yzerman. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.